What's going on, guys? Dan here again, back for episode 2 of the Skadi build vlog. Gonna do a little bit better today, hopefully, during this build vlog. Instead of looking down, I'm gonna try to look at the camera more instead of down at my notes. I do still have my notebook because I'm probably gonna forget to mention stuff that I need to talk about. But I'm gonna do hopefully a better job of looking at the camera and not down at my computer table. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to start with hardware. It's just going to be everything that's going to be inside the kit. Everything from the CPU to the desk or to the case itself. The only thing I'm not going to go over are just some of the aesthetic things. I'm not going to go over the fans too much. I'm not going to go over the lighting system that I'm going to use in there. And again, I'm not going to go back over any of the water cooling stuff because we've already done the water cooling stuff. Alright, so we're going to start with the Intel processor. This is the latest i7 7700K Kaby Lake processor. It's just a step up from the 6700K, which was the previous generation processors. The only reason why I went with this over the 67 is just due to the pricing. It was only like $50 more, and it was like the newer of the processors, so I figured, what the hell, might as well just go with it. I'm already spending about $350 on a processor alone. And then the 6700 was like $320, so it really wasn't even that big of a price jump between the two. So we're going to move on to the motherboard now, where everything's going to sit. The motherboard is an MSI Z270 Gaming M5 board. I chose this one mainly because I liked the color scheme on it, and also it works with the chipset for the CPU that I have. The reason why I didn't go with the M7 is because the M7 has a whole bunch of RGBs all over the board. I don't know what it is with companies nowadays and RGBing literally everything from memory to the board to fans. I just don't want a whole lot of that within, at least in this build. I'm sure when I was first starting, it would probably been cool to have RGB inside of everything. But I chose this board specifically because there's only like one set of RGBs, and that's on the south bridge. And then everything else, including the up by the front, is all just grayed out, and it's all got a nice clean look to it. So that's why I went ahead and picked up this board. It's not because it's going to look like MSI is building this computer, but so that's what I'm going with. Moving on to the RAM. The RAM is the Corsair Vengeance. It's just DDR4. It is 16 gigs, and it's white. Was the main reason why I got it. I'm thinking about getting another 16 gig, but with the black heat shields over them, and instead of having two whites, then I can alternate black, white, black, white. I think that would look pretty cool for the overall theme of what's going on. As far as this theme is concerned, with the black and white is what we're trying to aim for. Moving on to storage. So for storage, I have an M.2, the Samsung 950 Evo. It's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. I figured they were going to be small, but I didn't realize that they were going to be quite as small as it actually is. And then of course, I went with the M.2s mainly because they're just a little bit faster, and they've come down in price, I guess, substantially since they first come out. But this is only 250 gigs. It's only going to hold the operating system, and then everything else is going to be put on a bigger drive. I do have the Samsung 850 in my current computer, and it works great. The solid state drives for operating systems are fantastic. They load so fast. It's just unreal compared to putting your operating drive on a manual or on a mechanical hard drive. I did also pick up a mechanical hard drive to put in for this build as well, for all the extra stuff. If I'm only going to be putting the operating system on the M.2, I'm still going to need a spot to store everything. It is a 2 terabyte hard drive that's going to go in there, but again, it's mainly for games. I do have a 4 terabyte NAS that's hooked up to my network, so I didn't need to go all out. Just one hard drive should be fine. The video card is the MSI GeForce GTX 1070 Gaming X, and it is a mouthful to say. I do like MSI cards. I did have the 970. I do have the 970 in this current rig. Not a huge fan of the color scheme that they're going with. Again, A younger me probably would super enjoy it because I would probably build a black and red build, and it would be perfect. One thing that I do like about this card over my 970 that I had, other than the fact that it's a 1070 and it's just going to perform a lot better, is that the MSI logo that lights up is actually an RGB, which is cool, but again, I'm not going to be using it because it's going to be water cooled. There are RGBs in the little red lightning bolts for whatever reason, in case you want to have some colored with a little red cover over it. It'll change whatever color you want as long as it's a hue of red, which I think is strange, but hey, whatever. I don't make cards, I just use them. But like I said, I'm going to be taking that whole stock cooler off of there, putting the water block on, and going from there. I didn't go with the 1080 specifically because of the pricing. I'm sure by the time that this is all done, the 1080s are going to come down in price with the 1080 Ti's coming out. But that's just the name of the game, right? You can buy a 1080 Ti this month, and then in 6 months there's going to be something better or faster coming down the pipeline. So we went with the 1070. I'm also not doing 4K gaming because I have a 34-inch ultra wide that only goes up to 1080. So I don't really need the 4K that the 1080 would offer. So that's why I went ahead and picked up the 1070. Moving on to the power supply, you can probably see the box behind me next to this box of loves because my office is always a trashed mess. But anyways, we went with the EVGA Supernova 750 G2. It is fully modular, which is exactly why I picked this power supply. My wife was awesome enough to pick me up a whole plethora of custom sleeve cables, which again we're not going to get into. You'll see it during the actual build, but all the cables are going to be individually sleeved with white, so it's going to look really great again with the black and white build. And then on top of that, I don't have a whole bunch of extra cables in there that I don't need. That is the joy of having a modular power supply. It's a little bit more expensive, but it'll do what you want. I went with a 750. I have a 650, I think, in this computer now, but I went with the 750 mainly because of the water loop. I don't expect it to pull a whole bunch, and I think a 750 might actually be a little bit overkill. But at least, if it does for whatever need it, at least the power is going to be there, and I can recycle that power supply if I need to later on down the line. Again, not that I expect on doing that either. Yeah, so moving on from the power supply is the case. See, I told you I had a notebook. That's what all that noise is. Is the case. It is a fractal design Define S with the window on the side. If you're not familiar with fractal design cases, which I was not when I first bought this case, I would highly recommend you guys get one. They are fantastic. I haven't even started building in this computer yet, and I'm already in love with the case, with everything that it just comes with. This case in particular is a mid-tower. It will hold the full ATX board, which is, again, perfect for what I need it to do. But there's also already pre-cut out holes for the pump when I go to put it in there, so that's great. There are no drive bays, so there's no CD drive bays, there's no any hard drive bays, there's nothing like that. As you guys can see in the B-roll, or when you see it in the B-roll, the hard drives are actually going to go on the back, and they're actually vertically mounted on the back. So they're going to be tucked out of the way. You're not even going to see them in the window, which is going to be great. Unless I have the side panel off, you won't even be able to see the hard drives themselves. And they can support the bigger 3.5 inch, or I think they're 3.5 inch drives. Or 3 1/4 inch drives. I don't remember off the top of my head what they are, but they will hold those in the back. They also have slots in the back for SSD drives for the 2.5 inch drives. And again, it's just an awesome idea and the way that works. And then there's a lot of open space inside this case as well. I don't think it's going to be an issue having the fan, the radiators, and the water pump right next to each other. It looks like there's plenty of space for all three of that to happen. One thing I am going to do is take off the white shields on the back, and then get rid of the white fans as well, so that they're all black. And I'm going to replace the shields with black shields as well. That way it's all just blacked out. And the only thing that won't be black on the case is the power supply button, which lights up blue, which isn't a huge deal. It's not going to bother me that much. Some of the other things that are going to go along with this build is the NZXT Hue Plus. That's going to be my lighting for the system. It's going to go around. The reason why I chose the Hue Plus is it's easy to control with the NZXT. Their little Kraken thing. Their cam software. That's the word. NZXT's cam is a fantastic program if you guys haven't used that. It's a little heavy on the RAM, but it's a great way to monitor your temperatures and stuff, and just what's going on with your system. But with the Hue Plus, you can also control the lighting inside the case with the cam software, and that's leading into why I chose black and white. If I want to change the color, it's going to be as simple as going into the cam software and changing it to whatever color I want, and the white will reflect that color, so it'll be a little bit easier. I won't have to drain the pump if I want to change the color. I just change the color and everything else will change with it. I think that's about it. The only thing that you guys are going to see is next week when I go to do the test bench. I'm going to use a Thermal Lake Engine 27 for the heatsink, which is, I thought it was going to be really cool. It's a really cool idea. It doesn't work any better than the Intel, the standard Intel socket that goes with it, or the standard Intel cooler that comes with most CPUs. But I mean, it's low profile, so if you want that, that's good. But I think Noctua makes better. They make better drives, or not drives. Sorry, Noctua makes better heat sinks for them with lower profiles. That does better if you're trying to shove everything into a small case. So yeah, that's it for this week. I guess I will see you guys next week when we'll go through the test build, the test bench. I'll kind of talk through that process as well. I've already shot most of the footage, so hopefully it all comes together pretty well, because I really don't want to do it again because it's a pain in the ass to get it all together. So yeah, this week I'll probably swap out the oh man, my mind just went blank. I'll probably swap out the cooler on the video card and change it out with the graphics card. So that'll be done for 2 weeks. So the video for 2 weeks. So moving ahead of schedule, which is great. Hopefully I can have this computer done within the next 2 weeks. But hey, whatever. I'll see you guys on the next video. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you got constructive criticism, or if you just want to call me an idiot because I can't speak words. So I'll see you guys next week.